Hello and good day everyone, this is Dana Staples and for today, I will be showing you my LO7, which is how to manage healthcare information in an electronic medical record using the nursing process. So, before we start, let me first show you my workflow chart as a guide for us to effectively and efficiently record the patient's data in our EMR. So now, we will be utilizing OpenMRS to record the patient's data, but first, we are going to log in and select inpatient data for the purpose of our demonstration. Now, we are going to register a patient by clicking on it. Now, we are going to fill out all the necessary information about the patient. Our patient's name is Mr. Cloyd C. Cruz. Next, other relevant information about the client were as follows, such as the gender of the client, date of birth, address, phone number, his relative or significant other present during the assessment, occupation of the client, religion, ethnicity, and as well as the marital status of the client. So, the client lives in Barangay Santa Clara, Calamansig, Sultan Kudarat. With a postal code of 980. The phone number of the client was also recorded. This may serve as an easier way to contact the patient if results about tests being done to the patient came out. Once the information are confirmed, all the information that we recorded will be shown on the screen for us to recheck it and correct it if there's any typos or wrong information recorded. Click confirm if all the information are correct. Now, to check if the client's information and profile is recorded, click Find Patient's Record, and as we can see, Mr. Cloyd Cruz records can be found with all the other client's information. Now we are going to start visit and we are going to confirm. The next, we are going to admit the patient to inpatient ward. We are going to put the admission date, the physician who admitted our patient, and as well as the ward and the service of the patient. We're gonna click Capture Vital Signs. Then there is the height, weight, the calculated BMI, the temperature, the pulse of our client, respiratory rate, blood pressure, and the arterial blood oxygen saturation of our client. Once confirmed, all the vital signs of our client will be shown on the left side of our screen. Then, we're gonna click Visit Note for the formulation of our NCP. Here, we are going to formulate our NCP by following the nursing process. For the assessment and for the subjective cues, nilalamig ako nurse at medyo masakit ang ulo ko as verbalized by the client. As for the objective cues, we observed flushed skin with temperature of 38.5 degrees Celsius, body malaise, our overall weakness, and presence of swollen wound on the right leg. For the diagnosis, our medical diagnosis is fever, and for the nursing diagnosis is hyperthermia related to the inflammatory process as evidenced by swollen wound and elevated temperature. The planning. After 8 hours of nursing intervention, the client's temperature will reduce and the client's wound will be cleaned properly. And as for our intervention, the intervention were written as follows, such as monitor the patient's vital signs, especially the temperature, clean the patient's wound, and administer over-the-counter medication if applicable. For the evaluation, the goal was met. Since the client verbalized increase in comfort, the wound was cleaned properly and the temperature of the client reduced from 38 degrees to 37. As for our health teaching, educate the client the proper wound cleaning, refrain from doing heavy activities during recovery, eat balanced and healthy diet for faster and greater recovery, and encourage fluid intake for heat loss. To add up, we can search for the primary diagnosis of our client. So we're going to select fever. Since the client experienced elevated temperature. And of course, we're gonna click Save. Now, for the reliability, appropriateness, and validity of our diagnosis, I use nurses' labs, since all necessary information were noted in the site, such as hyperthermia's definition, manifestations, as well as nursing interventions in the rationales. Nurses' labs also is very reliable since it cites its sources and provides the authors and the date when their sources were published. I also use Nurses Packet Guide 15th edition by Marlene Donges, Mary Frances Morehouse, and Alice Murr to add more information about the diagnosis and prioritizations. Here, they defined hyperthermia, the lot of possible causes. Next, we're gonna add allergies if there are any known. For our patient, the patient has no known allergies. For health education sample rubrics, in accessing health information, I gave a rate of 4 since I've located specific sources of health information and services relevant for enhancing the health of my patient who's experiencing hyperthermia. In evaluating information sources, I also gave a rate of 4 since I clearly and accurately explained and identified sources and that how they are valid, reliable, and appropriate as a result of a thorough evaluation of each source. For source identification and validity, I gave a rating of 4 since I identified all my health information sources. I also completely and accurately stated where I found my sources. Lastly, I thoroughly explained why all of my sources are appropriate to the given health situation. As we are almost finished, now we are going to review the information of our client, such as the name, which is Mr. Cloyd Cruz. He is 21 years old, and the vital signs of our patient were as follows. Now, there are also the information that we've filled out, such as the latest observations, the vital signs of our client, the diagnosis of our client, and as well as the weight graph of our client and the health trend summary. As we scroll down, we can see the information that we've entered. Then here we can see the patient has no known allergies. Then we're gonna click End Visit since we're done. Then we're gonna confirm it by clicking Yes. And now we're gonna click the Home button and we're gonna search for our patient's record to confirm if our patient's record still exists. And as we can see, Cloyd C. Cruz is on the top and his information were recorded and still on our EMR. Of course, lastly, don't forget to log out for the confidentiality of the patient's information. And now for the analyzation of how EMR improves the delivery of healthcare management. These are my analyzations. The end of my video. Thanks for watching.